Most of these supplies come from the Dollar Tree. The first project we're making is a St. Patrick's Day tray. I'm using an 11 by 14 frame. I'm also using one of these St. Patrick's Day window clings. You'll need some ribbon, and I'm using this 5/8 inch green ribbon. I'm using two 6-inch wooden dowels that are 1 inch in diameter that came from Walmart, along with two of the wooden handles from some of my old foam brushes. You'll need some paint to cover the dowels and the tray. I'm using black. You'll also need a little piece of sandpaper along with some E6000. Getting started, we're going to cut off the product information from the clings. Once that's done, take your frame apart. You're going to use the back piece of cardboard and center it on the top of your clings. Then use a pencil to mark down the sides, and using your scissors, cut the excess off. Once that's complete, turn over the front insert of the frame. Using some clear tape, attach the clings to the paper. Once that's complete, we're going to attach the green ribbon. I laid a piece of ribbon across the top of the clings, and after cutting it, I used that piece to make a matching piece. Use your glue gun to attach the ribbon to the top and the bottom of the window clings. The inside of the tray is now complete, so let's work on the outside. Using a ruler, measure the center point of the frame on both ends and mark it with a pencil. Using the same ruler, measure the center points of all 4 wooden dowels and mark them with a pencil. Lightly sand about 4 inches on each end of the frame. By doing this, you remove the shiny edges of the frame, and this will allow the dowels to attach much easier with the E6000. Before working on the frame, I'm placing down a piece of wax paper. We're using E6000 for this project. We're going to attach the large dowel first, and all you need to do is match the 2 center points together. Then run a bead of glue and attach the dowel to the frame. To attach the smaller dowel, match up your pencil marks. Then use your E6000 to attach it to the frame, making sure that all the markings line up. After you do this to one end of the frame, do the exact same thing to the other. E6000 takes time to set up, so I allowed mine to dry overnight. Once the E6000 has set up, I'm using my black acrylic paint and I'm giving the dowels and the frame a good coat. Once the paint is dry, it's now time to assemble our tray. I'm going to replace the glass insert, adding my St. Patrick's Day sign to the center, then completing the tray with the cardboard bottom. This only has the strength of a frame, so I wouldn't suggest toting anything heavy around on it, but it does make the perfect display for any of your St. Patrick's Day decor. I'm using the 2-pack of 3.5-inch terracotta pots. You'll need 8 popsicle sticks, 4 per pot. You'll also need some flowers. I'm using the 3 shades of green carnations. And as some filler flowers, I'm using some that I have from my stash. You'll need a piece of floral foam and a pair of these novelty sunglasses. You'll need some E6000 and your favorite color of green paint. You'll also need some gold and black paint. I'm making 2 pots, so I'm picking 2 of my favorite colors of green. You can change up the colors like I'm doing or paint them both the same color. And all you do is paint the base of the pot and the inside. The terracotta absorbs the paint, so you may have to give the pots 2 coats. Once the green is complete, we're now going to add the black accent. I'm using acrylic paints for this project, but spray paint would work great too. Now that your pots are painted and dried, we're going to set them aside and make the buckles. You're going to use 4 popsicle sticks for each buckle. I cut off the rounded ends and then I measured the sticks 1.5 inches each. Then cut them into pieces. If the edges are rough, use a little sandpaper to smooth them. To hot glue them together, all you do is simply lie 2 pieces down, add some hot glue, and place the other 2 pieces on the top. You're going to need 2 buckles, 1 for each pot. I'm using this shiny gold paint to cover the buckles. I'm giving both of the buckles 3 coats of paint, and I'm painting the front and the back. In the darker green pot, I'm going to make a simple flower arrangement, and I'm using the 3 shades of green carnations. I'm also using some filler flowers that I have in my stash. I'm going to use the leprechaun hat from these novelty sunglasses, along with some floral foam. This piece of foam is too big for the pot, so I'm just going to cut it in half. It was still a little big to fit in the pot, so I cut the end off and then hot glued it inside. The flowers are a little too big for the pot, so I'm removing the blossom from the stem, taking off the bottom plastic backing, and removing a couple of layers of the flower. Once I do that, it makes the flower a little smaller, and then I just replace the plastic backing. I did this for all the flowers that I used in the arrangement. I then put the blossoms back on their stems. To make my arrangement, I just randomly placed some of the carnations inside the pot. Once the carnations were all in place, I then filled in the empty openings with my filler flowers. I used my hot glue gun to glue the baby's breath in place. I'm using the leprechaun hat from this pair of novelty sunglasses. Once I cut it free, I then cut the bottom section off. I'm using 2 shamrocks that came with my carnations. I'm attaching the hat and the 2 shamrocks to one of the flower stems. I'm then hot gluing the hat on. I then added it to my flower arrangement. To attach the leprechaun's buckle, I placed some hot glue on the back, then centered it over the black stripe on the pot. To finish off the arrangement, I'm adding 2 coins that were attached to my carnations. Once I place the coins in the arrangement, it is now ready to display. To make the second pot, I'm using some leprechaun coins, along with a green foam shamrock, and a pair of these novelty sunglasses. We're attaching the buckle once again with hot glue. I'm going to fill the pot with the leprechaun coins. Using my glue gun, I'm attaching them to the insides. As I move around the pot, I'm slightly angling the coins so that they form a cone. I continued gluing the coins in a circle, leaving a small opening in the top. When you're done, you'll have a gold coin pyramid. Now we're removing the shamrocks from the sunglasses. We're going to use 1 of the shamrocks and 4 of the crystals. Using your hot glue gun, attach the smaller shamrock to the larger shamrock. Place some hot glue in the center of the pot and then slide the shamrock piece inside, making sure that the little gold shamrock stem is on the outside. To close the hole up on the back, I continue to hot glue the coins into a pyramid shape. To give a little bling to my shamrock, I'm going to use 4 of the crystals from the sunglasses. I'm hot gluing them onto the larger shamrock and then placing 1 in the center. Once you finish, this pot of gold is complete. Making the wreath, we need 3 of the large styrofoam shamrocks. You'll need a sign. I'm using this St. Patrick's Day sign from the Dollar Tree. I'm using this small gold shamrock left over from my last project, along with some of the foam scatters. You'll also need some ribbon. I'm using this pretty gold ribbon and this green ribbon. They are both 2 inches wide. You'll also need some type of floral wire and some gold paint. I'm leaving 1 shamrock with a hanger. I'm gluing the 2 bottom shamrocks together and attaching them to the top shamrock. I'm cutting 2 pieces of floral wire and then attaching them to all 3 shamrocks just to give them a little extra strength. Using hot glue, I'm adding my shamrock sign to the wreath. I'm going to make a bow for the wreath using the gold and the green ribbon. I decided how big I wanted my bow. I'm using the looping method that I learned many years ago from a friend who was a florist. I make a ribbon loop on one side and then I make a matching ribbon loop on the other. From there, it's just a continuation of making loops and then twisting them. The green ribbon is a little difficult to work with, but I just continued looping my ribbon, twisting it to one side and then looping it and twisting it to another. I've made this bow in other videos with instructions, and I'll link that above in case you want to check it out. Once your bow is complete, cut a piece of the floral wire. Then, while the bow is gathered in one hand, twist the wire over the top, pulling it tight and then twisting it together. I'm going to finish the tails by just giving them an angle cut. I'm attaching the bow to the wreath using my floral wire. I'm adding these 3 foam shamrocks to the wreath. I'm gluing one on each side and then one on the top. I'm attaching this tiny shamrock to the center of the gold shamrock. I'm painting these 3 tiny shamrocks gold. Once dried, I attached them to the shamrocks on the wreath. And now your shamrock wreath is complete. I hope you had fun making all 4 of these St. Patrick's Day projects with me. If you haven't yet subscribed, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody!